Hello, assorted people of the internet. I am James Phoenix, and this is another review here on Pez of the Mind. Joining me, as always, is the award-winning Chris the Mole.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, my public. Where's your award, Jim? Hold yours up. Hold it up, Jim.
Yeah, very funny.
Oh, do you not have one?
Anyway, we're here today to look at the recently DVD and Blu-ray released summer blockbuster Kong Skull Island.
Oh.
Right there, yep.
I'm doing that because the Blu-ray is somewhere else, but I got the ultraviolet copy on here.
That works.
Directed by, and I mentioned too, it's directed by and stuff, and it says like the cast, and it tells you who some of the people it includes. So yay.
Yay.
But yeah, this is actually a pretty cool cast.
Yeah, it's a good cast. Mainly
because yes, it sort of wants to feel like a B movie, but it just goes just above a B movie.
It's a B+ movie.
Yeah, it goes just above it to be like a normal A movie, but it goes from the B movie. It goes above them, but it's made up of like Samuel Jackson and John Goodman and stuff. Who I love those guys, but besides Avengers and arguably Star Wars, for every big named film, like for every Pulp Fiction and stuff that Samuel Jackson's been in, there's like a B movie he's been in.
Yeah, like that Black Snake movie where he had a chick chained up the whole movie.
That's not a B movie,
isn't it? Okay.
Black Snake Moan is actually an independent movie. That's not a B movie.
Okay.
And it's actually really thought-provoking and is miles better than most of his other stuff.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
that movie is instantly better than all of the Avengers, or hell, I'd even say it's better than the Star Wars prequels. It's that good in quality.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, this is the most recent reboot of the Kong mythology, as it were.
Yep.
And it looks like a great cast. Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, Tom Hiddleston, one of the leads, does a great job. And it's a pretty straightforward premise.
It's worth noting.
Yep.
This is a prequel to the 2014 Godzilla movie.
Yes.
The reason that's definitely worth noting is cinematic universes. This is going to lead to Godzilla v King Kong. But basically, the group that are in this throughout the whole film, they're in Godzilla for like a small little bit, and they kind of explain the monsters because they've got experience with monsters. This is kind of how they know about monsters.
That makes sense.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. And it's also fun because it's worth noting the traditional King Kong story has been done multiple times. It was done like in the 70s. It was done with the Peter Jackson one and stuff like that. This one decides, okay, and they do sort of what Rise of Planet of the Apes did and some other ones, where essentially what they do is they tell a different story at the beginning that leads up to what's going to happen. Like, Kong hasn't left the island yet.
Mm-hmm.
This is them meeting him for the first time. So it's not just going to be a retread of, oh, Beauty killed the Beast and all the other stuff, which, FYI, is one of the greatest lines ever. Mm-hmm. But like, the black and white King Kong is beautiful. This one tries to be very different. Like, the last King Kong one that came out, Peter Jackson, was very realistic looking.
Yes.
They have a filter on this to kind of give it this old schooly 70s, 80s-ish vibe. Mainly because I think it's set in the 70s, 60s or 70s. And I'm like, that's cool.
It is. It's set just after the end of the Vietnam War.
Yeah. I just wanted to explain that to people because obviously, if we tell people, yeah, it's just a Kong reboot, it is worth noting. Obviously, it's a prequel to because it's in the same universe, but it is worth noting how very different it is to all the other Kong stories.
It is. Yeah, I knew it was into the Godzilla movie, but I didn't know how. Now I know it's a prequel, which makes sense because it does take place in the past, so that makes sense.
Yep. It also lets you know how it links together because there's one little group that seems to know about everything.
Yeah, which makes sense.
It's also interesting because that means Kong won't age that well.
Mm-hmm.
Because logically, with how long it's been since then till Godzilla, that means Kong must age at a different rate. Which I'm not insulting that or making fun of that. That's just an interesting little tidbit we can take from this film.
It is.
Which by doing that means they can make them for as many years as they want to come, and it's not unrealistic that he doesn't age because they've already set it up that he doesn't age.
Yep.
But the original King Kong is about basically getting Kong, finding the tribes people and doing all that stuff, and then going with Kong back to the civilization, if you will, to show him off and all the other stuff. This one is they go to the island, they meet the natives who are more comical in this, or they're not comical, really. The guy they find with them is comical, but the natives are more fun and friendly, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's worth noting the original natives were friendly. Peter Jackson's weren't. That he made them really vicious for the sake of it, probably to pad out his film. But
yeah,
basically, that's cool because you got like the natives and stuff, so they have elements of the original from when they land on Skull Island, but they've done it in different ways. So that's just cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people probably think I'm going to crap all over the Peter Jackson movie all the way through this, and they wouldn't be disappointed. No, I'm going to say I'm not going to. I just pointed it out because that's the most recent one. That's the only reason. I will give it a prop and say, in my opinion, King Kong in that looked better than King Kong in this from an aesthetic point. This one's more advanced CGI, and this one's a lot advanced other way, but that one looks way more realistic, like a giant ape, which is what he's supposed to be. This one's more like a monstrous ape, which you could argue he was always meant to be monstrous. I mean, he's the fucking like 50 feet tall, but you know what I mean? The other one was like 50 feet tall, but was in the original was meant to look like an ape, even though it was a bad costume and stuff, which is fine. I love that film. But this one seems more, I don't know, he seems more animalistic, like he's more of a fantasy ape than he is an ape.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably because they were worried Peter would get on their case.
Yeah.
I don't think that's why.
No.
I think they just did that because it matches similar to the aesthetic of the monsters in the Godzilla film that we've seen. Just not as much, but just enough that you can see they're in the same universe.
Right. Indeed. Yeah, he looked. This is actually the first King Kong movie I've ever watched, and yeah, I mean, I thought he looked pretty good, and I thought he did great coming across as both threatening and as protector of the island.
Is this the first one you've ever seen?
Yes.
Excellent. Only because sometime in the future, not now, but sometime in the future, I know a review I want to do right here live on Pez of the Mind.
Okay.
Godzilla v King Kong. And I don't mean the upcoming one. I mean the Japanese one where they're like Power Ranger Zords where the guys in suits hitting each other going, oh,
nice.
With robots because it's so cheesy and horrible.
That sounds cheesy and horrible.
It's so cheesy and horrible, but it's wonderful. It's like the proper old school Godzilla. It's wonderful.
Nice.
And we do own that. I own that twice, I think.
Nice.
Because my original 1930 King Kong box set came with that. Well, it came with the original King Kong, the original recolored, so it's like in color.
Right.
But it's still the same film. Then it came with the King Kong v Godzilla, and I think one of the Japanese King Kong films. Which was fun.
I can imagine.
But yeah, I will say the monsters on this are a little weird.
Yeah, a little bizarre.
Like, there didn't seem to be a purpose to them other than we wanted to see King Kong fight the monsters, which was cool because that means going into the Godzilla movie, they're both monsters that have fought monsters. So they're both equal. I mean, basically, no one wants to see a fight where you got one person like who's completely skilled in fighting a certain way, going one-on-one with a guy who's got no experience in that particular style, who's clearly going to lose. I'm just going to leave out here.
Yeah, go ahead. That'll work.
But no, it just makes them. It's just going to make their fight better.
Yeah, I didn't. Who did Godzilla fight in his movie?
Other kaiju.
Ah, okay. I didn't know if they specifically, because I know they showed in the after credits of this one, they showed the silhouettes. I don't know if they had like Mothra or somebody in there.
No, in the no King Kong, he's fighting in the first Godzilla one, the 2014 one, I should say. He's fighting over just random other kaiju, which is similar to him, but they're not that distinctive to be like his big named villains,
right?
Because they want to keep them for the sequel, which makes sense because if you watch the original Japanese one, the first Godzilla film, similar to this one, Godzilla is treated as the enemy. Which he kind of was. Although it is worth noting the original Godzilla one does lose a lot of the anti-nuclear war messages, which is what Godzilla was about.
Right.
Which makes sense because of the country it's made in. I'm being serious because I know America loves a good war. I don't mean that in a racist way. I mean, like a lot of American stuff. Like if you look onto American TV and stuff, compared to Japanese, American TV through the ages have been like westerns and Star Wars, and when it came up and stuff like that. So you know what I mean? You love the war, whereas a lot of the Japanese stuff has been more about it's not about the war, it's about the journey and the peace.
Right. Like the Dragon Ball Z story.
Actually, Dragon Ball was about peace, kind of, because the original Dragon Ball, before they mixed in Western elements and made Z, he's actually just a little boy going on an adventure. He happens to fight and stuff, but he's not doing it for evil, although he is doing it on part because he wants to be a best martial artist, but he's also bringing about peace, and he has a good message there. It's like I didn't compare that to, like, say, Spider-Man, because he's fighting villains.
Right.
But like Western, there's clearly war there. Which is a genre I really wish would come back. Like they brought back Pirates of the Caribbean. I wish they'd bring back Westerns.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I like a good Western.
Problem is, I think they tried. I think it was the Lone Ranger, and I think it bombed.
To be fair, the Lone Ranger is a Western as much as Spider-Man is a romance.
Okay, fair enough.
It's got romance things in there, and it's got like Western elements in there, but the Lone Ranger was more like a comic book film than it would be like a proper Western. Like, to be fair, like the Django Unchained and stuff like that were pretty cool.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, and they had a lot of Western elements.
They did.
But yes, the characters in this film, I like the characters.
The characters were great, especially John C. Reilly. He made the movie for me.
Yep. I also love basically Samuel Jackson throughout the whole film, where he kind of lies to his troops, and he just wants to kill King Kong. And it's not because, oh, I want to kill the monster and save the day as such, or there is an element in that. Some of it's just like Abraham with the whale. If he just wants to beat King Kong, because once he encounters him, it's something that should be impossible, so he wants to conquer it.
I believe you mean Ahab.
You know. Sequel.
Ah, okay.
I don't even know what I said.
You said Abraham.
It's the same name.
That's close enough. Anyway. Yeah, that's kind of it. It's that's exactly what it is. And I think there's also a hint of PTSD in there. Him starting at the post-back, just sort of dealing with the war and having, for all intents and purposes, as much as people from that time don't want to admit it, we lost the Vietnam War. Let's just be honest. And
to be fair, I will say there's a great film people need to watch about that. It's called Rambo.
Yes.
No, I'm being serious, because besides when they changed the ending because he was meant to kill himself, if you watch how he's treated when he gets back, he's actually harassed by the police and by everyone else because he lost the war, which shows what the troops went through when they came back. So, yeah, the first Rambo is much about a character study of what happens to a Vietnam vet when they come back from war. The sequel's about what can we blow up now.
Yeah.
But the first Rambo is worth watching. I'm not sure if you've seen the first Rambo, but the study of what they go through and stuff, it is worth watching. There's a lot of action in there too, yes.
Yes.
But it is true. Like when they came back, like the police were like, "Get out of town," and we don't want your types here, and people threw stuff at them, which is actually based in fact.
No, that's very true. I mean, my father's a Vietnam veteran, and that happened to a lot of them over there, and that's why even today that now that the Vietnam vets are, because there's so few World War vets around anymore, since the Vietnam vets have taken over as the senior veterans. They've kind of gone out of the way to make sure that all the guys coming back from like Iraq and Afghanistan and all these other places, get the treatment that they never got when they came back from Vietnam, to make sure that they have what they need.
It's also worth noting, though, I'm not sure about that. Little controversy.
Mm-hmm.
We can't, because we were teaming up with you in this war.
Yes, you are.
We kind of won it. We got Bin Laden. We got the troops we wanted. We kind of won it. For what all intents and purposes, like we got Saddam and you got him hung and stuff. We took out Bin Laden.
Yep.
We took over the party we wanted. We won this war, which means I'm not sure. Like when they came back, if they'd lost, there might be that mentality.
There might have been,
because it's like sports teams when they come back, and then obviously it's not the same. I'm not equating sports to war, but when a sports team come back and they've lost, sometimes they get heckled.
It's true.
Like an Olympic sports team that underperforms gets booed out when they come back.
Yep. But I feel like Samuel Jackson's going through a lot of that, particularly because there was that line where they're trying to talk him out of, you don't need to go after Kong, don't do this. And he screams, "No, this is one war I will not lose."
Yep. He screams, "I've had it with these motherfucking apes on this motherfucking helicopter."
Yes. That was a B movie.
It does.
But yeah,
during this, right when Samuel Jackson's about to kill him, Hayden Christensen pops out and goes, "No, I need him," and cuts off his arms. It was a hilarious throwback. That didn't happen.
No, if that had happened, if that had happened, I would have been like, "No, we're done here."
What would you do if that happened in Avengers? Like he's there when Thanos is there, and he's like, "I've got you, Thanos. Now it's gonna be a man that kills you with a gun." It's like, whoosh, someone cuts off his arms, and it's Hayden Christensen, just with a normal samurai sword. It's like, "No, I need him." And you're like, what?
Random.
Hayden Christensen needs to do that in all Samuel Jackson films.
Yes.
It needs to be like the episode of South Park when Willie kept getting the axe in the back.
Yes. That wasn't South Park. That was Simpsons.
Yeah, I corrected myself then.
You got it. Okay. Anyway, that was great. But yeah, it's a really good movie. Like I said, I think it was interesting seeing Samuel L. Jackson kind of turn into the villain for all intents and purposes, if there is a villain to be had in this film aside from the giant monsters. And I thought that was he did a really good job with the character of showing combination of both, the loss of his men, the fact that they were almost, they were home free, and he wanted this. He was one that agreed for them to go on this because they were ready to go home. They had packed up, and he agreed to take them on this last mission, and then he lost all his men. So it's understandable the psychological effect that might have on someone.
Yep. And the actual Kong, they kind of do the relationship from the original film, where Kong's kind of protective of the girl.
Yeah.
But they don't go full with it, which is cool.
No. I mean, they have one touching moment where she touches his face, and then he saves her from drowning at one point. That's about it.
Yeah, which is weird, because isn't this a film where Loki's on the...
Oh dear, I think we've lost Chris the Mole there, folks. Unfortunately, he's been having some power issues recently. He'll be having his house rewired soon, but for the moment, he loses power occasionally. But yeah, definitely the characters were just really interesting to see. Samuel L. Jackson's turn, of course, being one of the most obvious, but also, I mean, even just finding out who Tom Hiddleston's character is, just that, he was really there to be the action star, and I get that, but, even exploiting him as the logical one of, I'm here to track people, but there's a limit to what I'm willing to do. And him being willing to defend Kong after he was sent there to track Kong down in the first place. Was a great turn. And John C. Reilly's character was amazing in this. Yeah, he was comic relief because John C. Reilly is usually comic relief in things. But he also had this emotional thing where we saw him in the prologue get trapped on the island in 1944 at the end of World War II, and how not only did he survive on this island thanks to the natives and Kong's protection, but he was able to befriend the Japanese man that he was fighting that crashed on the island with him, and they became brothers. And he carries his samurai, his Japanese samurai-esque sword with him to carry on his friend's memory because his friend passed away. So that was really, despite being a comic relief character, John C. Reilly had a lot of emotion in his performance with all the different factors he was portraying, the being trapped, missing his wife and his newborn son that he never met, before he crashed there, and losing his friend and everything else. He was really the heart of the movie and trying to keep everybody on a moral compass of, protecting Kong and, preserving the island, and, trying to keep everybody on the up and right. I think he did a really great job with that. He was my favorite character in the movie by far. And a lot of the guys who were portraying the soldiers did a good job too. There was one guy in there, and I recognize the actor, and I don't know his name, but I know I've seen him in things before, and he did a really good job too. There's almost interesting in some sad moments, like he has a scene where he's going to sacrifice himself to stop the big monster because Kong is down, and they're trying to get to the boat to escape, and he pulls out 2 grenades like he's going to wait for the monster to get on him and then blow him up, and the monster just smacks him aside with his tail, and he blows up against a cliff, and it's like, oh, you died for nothing. Which is so sad because he was like so emotional, like, yeah, I'm gonna go, guys, I'm gonna take care of this, and just that. It's like there were a lot of moments like that where you thought one thing was gonna happen and then something else happened. They did a really good job with that. Hey, he's back.
Yep.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Can you see me?
I cannot see you. I see a Gaming Zone logo.
All right. There we go.
There we go.
So what did I miss?
No, then I just talked a little about the characters. I talked about I liked Tom Hiddleston's character, John C. Reilly's character, and some of the soldiers.
Yeah, what I was saying before I left, or got booted, that kind of thing, was I mentioned it's kind of weird to see Loki and Nick Fury on the same team.
That's true.
That has to be intentional.
Could be.
Now, it is cool the way that when King Kong kills someone, the blood splatters on his shirt and spells "I heart Taylor Swift."
It does.
That's also a lie, but
yeah,
obviously. But yeah, like I said,
yeah, and it's really because the way you go into this, because you're like, okay, you've got Nick Fury and you got Loki, but it swaps the expectation where Loki's the good guy and Nick Fury's the bad guy.
Yeah, so like you said, he's not really a bad guy.
Not a bad guy per se.
He's not a bad guy. He's not a good guy. He's just the guy.
Sure. And second of all.
Yep. But no, it's a case of, he's not really a bad guy, but he's sort of a bad guy in a lot of regards because Kong is really our hero.
Yep.
Hence the name. But yeah, like I said, Skull Island looks beautiful in this.
It does. They did a great job making everything look great.
Like I said, I liked the tribes people in this one. They were fun, which, to be fair, in the original, they were more stereotypes, but they were still used sort of comically. In the recent one, they were savages, like I mentioned. In this one, they're sort of not really stereotypes. They're more realistic than just a stereotype from how they were. But they're also still comical with some of the stuff they do.
Yeah, I mean they don't speak at all, but just some of the reactions to minor bow here or there, or this or that. They really shows a lot of characterization with minimal acting. So great job to all the people who play the tribes people in this.
And some of the jokes with the guy who's basically who they find, who's basically really funny. They kind of have some of those moments that I'm trying to think how to word it, that the monks had on Next Karate Kid, because that seems like a film everyone will have watched. It seems like the same reaction, like that type of role, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the monks on Next Karate Kid, super relevant.
Yep, that'll work.
Tis what I do.
Perfect. Yep. Yep. And yeah, but yeah, the CGI on Kong was very good, and also on all the different monsters, they looked really threatening, even though they were, I mean, they were a little generic in design, but they seemed really threatening, and they did a good job with how threatening they were, especially the big one, as he's called in the movie, and with Kong as well, and the CGI where they have to show, where Samuel L. Jackson lights the napalm and sets him on fire, that looked really cool.
It did. And like the end fight with Kong and one of the monsters was cool.
He gets all chained up and he has to break the chains. That was really cool.
Yeah, it looked cool, and you were like, "Yeah, come on, Kong!
Yeah.
Come on, giant CGI ape!"
Yes.
So, did you want to go on to ratings?
Yeah, we can go on to ratings.
Because I figured we've done most of it.
Yeah, we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
All right. If I was going to rate this, definitely an 8.5 to a 9. It's a great movie. The acting is well done. It looks good. They told the story they needed to tell. It was a simplified story of, okay, here's this island. It's been hidden behind a storm for a long time. There's a lot of ancient creatures on there that are coming out of this underground caverns in the earth. One of them is Kong, who you think is the villain at first, but it turns out he's only attacking them because they bombed his island first.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out he's the good guy. So they did a really good job showing, you think he's the enemy, but then he's not. And, making you sympathetic and root for Kong. And that was really well done. And, just the human characters, of course, Samuel L. Jackson, especially with his character arc, as well as some of the other ones, John C. Reilly being the heart of the film and both the comedy and the moral compass of the group. And Tom Hiddleston was just badass action of like, here, give me that sword. I'm going to start hacking these bird things to death.
See, I'd say the moral compass of the group was the girl.
She was too, yeah.
I would say more so because, like, she won Kong over, she won them over, and she was doing more of the, "Ooh, you shouldn't do this" approach more than he was.
True. Yeah,
he was great though.
Yeah. And I did like how they used the end credits to give his story resolution.
Yeah,
that was good. So that was really enjoyable. Yeah, definitely 85 to 90. It's a great movie. If you have a chance, go out and see it. And because it is a prequel and it does tie in with the after credit scene, go out and see the 2014 Godzilla also.
Yep.
What about you, Mo? Fake out.
No, it's loading. But yeah. You have to give the meter something. It's why I get the awards. But yeah, basically, I give it a thumb up because, yeah, it's fun. It's worth noting, just to touch upon what Jim said at the end. Obviously, you don't have to have seen Godzilla like Jim didn't, but it is cool if you do. And at least here, a lot of the Blu-rays for Kong came with a free copy of the Godzilla film.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I already had the Godzilla films. I gave my copy to my brother, but I got a free copy of it. So yeah, there you go. Mm. Which is cool that they did that, so you can watch both. And I'm like, oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
And because the 2014 Godzilla film does have Bryan Cranston in it.
Nice.
So people will like that. People will know him from Breaking Bad or Malcolm in the Middle. Yep. Yeah, basically when it comes to this film, the CGI is good, the soundtrack's great. Yes. It makes it feel old time.
It does.
The camera sort of effect, which I know is kind of CGI, but you know what I mean, where they make this film at this whole old time effect is cool. The fact the story isn't what the original King Kong was. They go their own route to reboot Kong, so it's done in a completely different style, is cool. Because it's got everything that makes Kong for the heart of the story. But it's like when you reboot Batman. Mm-hmm. Each time they reboot Batman, you keep to the core of what the character is. Mm. But you don't tell the same story.
Yeah.
The only closest thing to it is you might tell his parents dying. Mm-hmm. But the villain and stuff's not the same.
Yeah.
There's aspects you keep. Like with this one. Skull Island's the same. The natives that like King Kong and worship him are the same. Kong being a protector of the island's the same, and Kong actually being kind of a nice guy is all the same. But the general story has changed enough. You're not just going to go into this and get the same thing you've already seen. Mm. So that's cool. So yeah, like I said, go out and buy it today.
Indeed. Oh, I did forget to mention, John Goodman did a great job too. Although it was an interesting choice to have with him having been the focal character, they got everybody there, and then choosing to kill him off fairly early on was an interesting choice.
Yep, but I've heard the reboot of Roseanne is gonna reboot that.
Good to know.
I'm just thinking.
Okay.
I think it's not as good as it would.
I know. All right. Well, this has been a review of Kong Skull Island. We recommend that available where Blu-rays, DVDs, and digital media can be found. So definitely check that out. And be sure to stay tuned coming up, because as always, we have more great reviews coming your way. We are going to, this coming Saturday, we're doing a little early this month. We're going to have the final countdown, and that'll be the top 5 villain defeats. Yes. And then, of course, on Sunday, we're going to have a double whammy, because early on, we're going to be reviewing the Jetsons to WWE Robo WrestleMania movie. And then we're also going to be, of course, following the pay-per-view, reviewing No Mercy.
No mercy. Show them no mercy.
Yes. So stay tuned for all that great stuff this week. And as always, more to come. He's Chris the Mole.
Come.
Nice. As always, he's Chris the Mole. I'm Jace Phoenix. Peace.